Hey there guys, this is Andrew and welcome to Tech Engineered. Today we're going to be talking about advanced overclocking. I previously did a video about overclocking, which you can find up at the card in the top right hand corner of the screen right there. And go ahead, check that out so you can learn the basics, but today we're basically going to be talking about a couple of techniques that could help you push those couple extra megahertz out of your card. So let's get into it. Before we start, I will have to give a disclaimer that the techniques that we talk about today, at least the overvolting, will have a serious impact on your card and will most definitely shorten the life of the card. Whether that is just a couple of weeks off of it or not, you will see a shorter use period on the card. You still could get years of use out of it, but still it is dangerous and should be done in very limited amounts. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about overvolting. Overvolting is essentially increasing the amount of power going to the card so that it can run at a higher frequency, because as the frequency increases on the card, it will need more power to run. So, with cards these days having larger power delivery systems on like the EVGA for the Win editions and other companies' higher end editions, they actually put a bigger power delivery system on it. More VRMs and stuff so that you can pump more power to the chip. Still, you need to do it very conservatively, and I really don't recommend overvolting at all on modern cards. Back in the day, it was really the only way to get a nice solid overclock out of the card, but today you can get very nice overclocks without overvolting and just using the stock voltages. This video isn't really going to be a tutorial on how to do this because a lot of cards are different and they can handle different voltages. So basically I'm just telling you that it's there and it's something that you can do, but you need to do your research and you need to be thorough with your research and figure out what your card can handle. Look up specifics, people that have done overvolting, and see how much it can handle, how you should go about it, because a lot of cards are different and they can handle different things. So just research whatever you have and make sure that you are being safe. Another method that we can use to get a higher clock is whenever you overclock or overvolt, especially overvolting, you increase the temperature that the card is producing, so you can actually set a custom fan curve where you tell it where you want the fan RPMs to go at a certain temperature, or you can use a preset aggressive fan curve is usually what the software will call it, to get a aggressive fan curve put on it so that whenever the temperature rises on the card, it'll raise the RPMs of the fan up higher than it would at the stock fan curve. So you can use those to get better thermals so that you can push the core speeds and the voltages a little bit higher. But again, that produces more noise, so I usually just do everything with the card stock, all my overclocking and everything, so that I still get the quiet fan curve and I can get a nice overclock on it, because cards these days really do overclock very nicely at stock settings and you really don't have to do a lot of advanced stuff. But if you are super big into this enthusiast level tweaking and stuff like that, these are options to get a higher overclock out of your card. Some other things that can help you with your overclocking adventures are getting better case airflow, using more case fans or whatever, especially if you're in a small form factor case and maybe you aren't using all the fan slots. If you have an air-cooled card, that definitely will help. Also, just water cooling your air-cooled card will definitely help with your thermals and cooling the VRMs so that you can get your voltages higher and stuff like that. I haven't really been big into graphics card water cooling because I don't really use my graphics cards for intensive things, so I do water cool my processor using an all-in-one pre-built cooler. I don't do a custom loop just because that's hard. I do want to do one in the future, but for now it's easier just to do a all-in-one cooler and then air cool the graphics cards, because my graphics cards are lower end cards and they don't really need it. But if you do have one of those high-end cards, I would recommend like on a GTX 1080 or whatever, or the AMD, like whatever their new card's going to be, the RX whatever, on the high-end RX 490 or whatever. If you do want to water cool those cards definitely put off a lot of heat, especially when you're overclocking. So on the higher end, water cooling really is a viable option, although on the lower end it really isn't. Now, on the complete extreme side of things, you can also do liquid nitrogen cooling. So with your normal styles of cooling, which is air or water, you're just like passing medium over a heat spreader, essentially, whether that's the heat sink on the card or the water block, to move the heat away from the card and to get it cooled down. With liquid nitrogen cooling, you are basically dumping liquid nitrogen onto the card into a cylinder attached to the card to get the temperature down, and it is very manual, and I've never done it before. LN2 is very expensive to buy, and I would love to try it someday, but liquid nitrogen cooling isn't for everybody, and it is just for competitive overclocking. But I did want to mention it in this video because it is pretty cool. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on it. If you like this channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you have advice for future content that can be made on this channel, go ahead and leave that down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.